Or we can do, this is the Lock and Cash podcast.
This is welcome. Yeah, the classic voice.
The weekend prep.
Yeah, are we calling it Locked In?
We could.
Or do you think it's like cheesy?
I think it's fine.
All right.
We should let the...
Get locked in for the weekend. Oh, get locked in for the weekend?
We should let the audience decide. I think we have enough
Twitter
people.
poll.
I think we have enough people where
We're
at least
approaching
10 people
4,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, at least 10 people will give an opinion.
Way more than 10.
Yeah.
No, because one time I did one and it was like 100 votes. We got 100 votes.
There we go. We'll just let them.
So we locked in. Yeah, I guess we can figure it out.
What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Let us know in the comments.
We need a podcast name, and we need an intro.
All right. Well, what do we have coming up this weekend? We have the NFL slate. We have college football.
Yeah.
We have baseball, which we're not going to talk about.
Well, the World Series, yeah, we're not going to talk about baseball.
Don't care about the Diamondbacks.
This is going to be a football-focused podcast. And also UFC, when there's no UFC this weekend, but...
No. There's no UFC for 2 weekends, but
Rough.
we already have a bet. So we'll be
Perfect.
putting that in the card
Sometime
this weekend because that one you need to grab before the line moves.
There's some lines that move, and it's just insane.
It's going to move.
And it's like you lose any edge you had.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, like you want to get the lines in MMA as soon as they come out.
Yeah, true.
Because they move so hard sometimes.
Well, it's similar to NFL in that way because you have a week of action.
Yeah.
Before that, like it's not like the NBA.
Right.
Where you wake up and everyone bets.
Right, exactly.
It's like you have 7 days of people just recklessly throwing money at these fights.
Yep.
And you have no idea what it's going to look like when it's time, you know?
Yeah.
By the time, and then you have the effect that weigh-ins have, right? Because
Weigh-ins
weigh-ins
have an
could
effect.
shift lines like crazy.
Short notice replacements, obviously huge effect, but this one, this guy's gonna get beat up.
All right, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very big. This week 8 in the NFL, we're getting close to the halfway point, and it's a big week because you got a lot. Now you start to think divisional leads, playoff implications, a lot of interesting stuff.
It's a big week for everybody except for your fantasy team.
We won't talk about that. I'm currently 2-4, in desperate need of a victory, and I think Samuel is still out, right? Mm-hmm. So there goes my wide receiver 1, and James Conner on the IR, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting pretty right now. I'm
You
good.
got the best.
I'm good. I just need like 45 points from Austin Eckler, and I'm all right.
I just want to take a moment to just talk about how lucky you are to have such a bad running back core, and got so much value out of them.
Zach Moss.
You had Zach Moss. You had James Conner, and that's what you rolled into the season with.
Yes.
And everybody looked at
Those are my top 2 picks.
in our very competitive home league, and was like,
No, Eckler. I had Eckler.
oh yeah,
That's true.
Okay,
but he was hurt immediately.
yeah, So,
But I had nobody at receiver.
no, I mean you have nobody anywhere. That's
Jacoby Myers is like
part of the 2
my
and
wide
4.
receiver too.
part of the 2 and 4 is just not having anybody anywhere.
Yeah, it's been a rough like 5 years for me in fantasy.
Yeah.
But that's why we don't do anything fantasy related.
Do you want to tell everybody what the punishment is?
So in our league, the punishment is if you finish in last place and you lose out in the losers bracket, you have to eat a sock. And I don't mean that like, oh, that's so funny, like, put the sock in your mouth, haha, we all make fun of you. It's like, no, you have to literally consume a physical sock.
Yeah.
Like a piece of clothing. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
So
And it was like a funny, cool idea. And now that we're in our 30s, it's like
dangerous.
Do we continue the sock tradition?
No. So we're discontinuing the sock tradition, mostly because we Googled it and we found out that it's actually just
horrendous for you.
Like,
and I've lost like 3 times now. So, my life expectancy to play fantasy with my friends has dipped dramatically over the last few years.
We're like, Jeff has too many kids now to be getting last place and eating a sock.
It's pretty bad.
So thank you, Jeff, for...
you got to do what you got to do. You got to be a man of your word, And if that means you have to eat a sock.
You got to eat a sock.
Gotta eat a sock.
You know that I always eat a little piece of the sock with you.
Yes.
To maintain my standing
like a traditional
as league commissioner.
Yeah. It's almost like an offering
Right.
to the gambling god, the fantasy gods, the
sock god.
Yeah, the sock god.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's get into the NFL slate.
All right. Well, I actually wanted to throw something at you.
Okay.
All right. And I want to see if you can guess the team. All right. We'll start off with this game. This is an interesting game. There's one team left in the NFL that has scored 20 points, at least 20 points in every game this season.
So not the Giants.
So there's not the Giants.
Immediately.
Not the Giants.
Okay.
So there's one. I'll repeat it. There's one team in the NFL that has scored at least 20 points in every game this year.
Okay.
Only one.
Okay.
Can you throw some at me?
I'm gonna go.
It's kind of tricky. You might not get it.
So I think I have 3 teams that I have in mind.
Okay.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
They are not the team. You know, because when they played Jacksonville, they held them to like 17 or something.
Okay. The Houston Texans.
Good. That's a good guess. I can give you a hint that you will get if I no. Go ahead. Get another guess.
Okay. Because I'm like getting rid of because I remember
the Texans is a good guess.
I remember like Miami is like the obvious one, but
when they played Buffalo,
they didn't make 20 points. So I'm gonna go with as my final guess.
Okay.
The Washington Commanders.
No, that's so they just last week they scored 7 against the Giants.
I didn't watch.
It is. So the hint I was going to I'll give you the hint and you'll get it. When you said Texans, same division. It's in the division. All right, maybe it wasn't a good hint.
No.
So you're looking at Jags?
Yeah.
You're looking at Titans or Colts?
Right, and I'm like, is it the Colts?
It's the Colts. The Colts are the only team.
My brain broke.
I was like, with Minshew?
Yeah, like it can't be the fucking Colts.
It's the Colts.
It's the Colts.
So the reason why that's super interesting though is because week 8 Saints go to Indy. They play the Colts, right?
Yeah.
So Saints Colts sounds like on paper like the Saints have a great defense. They struggle offensively.
Yeah.
So if I was looking at the game, I would think like that total is going to be like 38, 39, like a lot of these other games see. So it's sitting at 44. And that when you dig in, that's the reason.
Yeah.
So that or 43.5 in some books. And with that line being so close, the Colts are +1 at home, essentially saying that these teams are even. One of the tips that I can give you guys is that like when you want to play overs in the NFL, the Colts have been a good over team. They're scoring a lot of points. They're giving up a lot of points. Look for games that have close spreads. Remember that system we talk about with the 9.5? If a team is 9.5 or more, then look to the under. Yeah. That's because those blowout games, like the one we just had last night, the Bills -9.5, game goes under because they pull away and then they just start running the ball. Let's get out of here with no injuries. Well, yeah, we don't have it. Well, last night was a little bit tricky.
Yeah, the Bills run the ball. As a James Cook owner, I wish they would run the ball
a little bit more
when they were up.
Yeah, and then Baker just started slinging it out of nowhere. But generally those games go under. But for overs, you want to look for games +3 or less, pick 'em games like this one, because then that mathematically says there's a higher chance that game goes to overtime than other games. And if it goes to overtime, that's awesome for overs.
Right.
So, you're going to get more points.
So is that how you're betting the Saints Colts? I
like the over in the game. Yeah, over 43.5.
Okay.
You got the Colts trend of them scoring, and their defense to me is surprisingly not good this year. Like I was shocked they let PJ Walker and the Browns put up 40 on them. I was like, what is this?
Going into the season, you saw the Saints, you saw their slate season long, and I forgot the stat, but it was like they only played on their initial slate like 5 guys that had really any NFL quarterback experience for the entire season. So you expected them to be a plus defense team against those guys. Yeah. But it just hasn't panned out.
And then you saw last week what the Jaguars did when they finally faced a good quarterback, a good offense that has some weapons. Yeah. And the Colts are not a great offense. But Gardner Minshew's not a bad he's not your typical backup quarterback.
I wanted him on the Jets.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that would be nice right now. Yeah. Although they're playing well, but the Jets are playing well. The Jets are going to win that game. The Jets are going to beat the Giants.
Jets are going to beat the Giants.
They're going to beat. If
We'll
they can't beat
we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
When we talk about the Saints Colts, do you have a lean?
Yeah, I lean over in the game. The side is too tricky for me on this one. They're both 3-4. It's a pick 'em, but I like the over 43.5. And remember, that's an indoor game in Indy.
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with any weather this time of year. I think the over is a good play in that game. Over 43.5. And I'm someone who's constantly taking unders this season.
What do you think about the Saints on third down? They're one of the worst teams in the league on third down conversion. The Colts, one of the best third down defenses in the league.
Is that right?
That is right.
We'll see, I guess.
Do you think that has any impact on?
Yeah, matchups. It definitely has it. Well, first of all, do we even know if Derek Carr's starting? I don't even know if he's starting.
Honestly, I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
I've seen some clips.
But you could be great. So here's the thing, though. You could be great on third down, but I would probably dig into that further and say how many third down situations are the Colts in, because they're giving up a ton of points.
Yeah.
So they might not be effectively getting offenses to get to third down. You know, if you're constantly moving the chains on first and second, you have a smaller sample size of actual big third downs, and it might make that number look a little, because at the bottom line, they're giving up a ton of points.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's why a lot of times, like when people are handicapping games, they get really stuck on matchups or details.
Yeah.
When you just look at the line, it tells you a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the fact that if you gave me that game and I'm like 39 would be my total, and you look at his 44, I'm like, oh shit, something's off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gardner Minshew's gonna sling it.
Yeah. Someone's scoring points in this game.
Derek Carr is gonna find his open receivers.
Yeah, and that's not like a foolproof strategy.
Yeah.
But being able to read lines, which sucks to say, but a large part of that just comes with like experience, time in the game. But that's being able to read lines is like. You know how that goes. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So
over. Saints Colts over. That's the first lean.
Now you talked about the Jets and Giants. Obviously, two of the worst offensive teams in
what's that total out?
The NFL. 24.
It's 17.5. 36.5. That was what the Navy Air Force game was. And that went under. I don't know. I mean, I like the Jets. I don't know about you. We're obviously both Jets fans, but we don't let that get into our head most of the time. I mean, I've bet against the Jets. It's actually funny. The one time we picked against the Jets this year was when they beat the Eagles. So that was the one time that I bet against the Jets. But I like them in this spot because they're coming out of the bye week. And the Giants just won a game outright as a home dog.
Correct.
Against Washington. And you can find value sometimes fading teams right after big divisional wins as divisional dogs, right? That was a big game for the Giants to kind of like keep their season partially alive. But the Jets are in way better form right now.
Yeah.
Both offensively and defensively and coming out of the bye week.
Now, one of the stats that I'll throw at you, let me know how you think it'll impact. Robert Saleh is one of the worst coaches coming off extended bye weeks or extended preparation periods.
Let's see if we can find out what it is.
Yeah, I think he's let's take a look. Him against the spread is really poor coming out of prep. He's like anti-Andy Reid.
0-4 straight up and against the spread.
Yeah.
This is fun. Failing to cover by 17 points per game. Come on. 17 points per game.
Yeah, it's almost like he doesn't prep that week. He's just like, this is a week off.
Well, I saw that Zach Wilson was going pumpkin picking or something, so I saw that
12.
He was getting all
the it's like his dad probably took him.
He was getting a bunch of shit on Twitter about that.
You know?
Yeah, I think he went with his girlfriend or something though. But sometimes you just got to clear the mind and come back. And they're 3-3. And when you look at how. I know Miami right now, I think, is in the division lead. But when you look at how Buffalo looked yesterday,
it's a very winnable division.
That division is not locked by anybody.
No.
Like, that's up for grabs. And we have a Jets divisional future before which I'm sure it's like plus 10,000 now. But before the season,
the updated line.
Plus 300. We took it before the season. I think it was plus 300.
Yeah.
But, they're still alive.
Yeah.
That's what defense can do for you in the NFL. But I like that. I mean, what do you think? I think they're clearly better than the Giants. The fact that it's a pseudo home game too for the Giants.
There's really no home field advantage there.
And Daniel Jones is not coming back either. So
I think I think that leans more towards the Giants than against them.
Oh well,
yeah,
he's been bad.
One of the only two quarterbacks that are statistically worse than Zach Wilson this year.
Yeah.
Is Daniel Jones. I forgot the other one, but Daniel Jones
that's
is
rough.
Yeah, so it's like if with all the crap that Zach Wilson's getting, Daniel Jones has been statistically worse basically across the board. So when you look at the Jets, they're one of the best second half They're one of the best second half defensive teams in football. I don't think that like Tyrod Taylor's better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
but I've always seen him as a guy that takes what the defense gives.
Sure.
You know, like ceiling isn't extremely high with him. I think he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. And I think the Jets are just going to be better defensively. I think they're just going to be able to hold him to, short throws, long third downs. And that offense still isn't good. Like, even with Tyrod. So,
yeah. I mean, they scored 14 points last week against the Commanders. Right. How often in this league you score 14 points, you win a game? Washington was just inept.
As a Jets fan, we should
know. Yeah, that's right. Washington was just inept in that game. But I totally agree that, they say, I mean, I don't know if Daniel Jones is actually worse than Zach Wilson or if he's just been let down by that offensive line. I mean, that offensive line has been so bad. And it's when you don't have time to throw in the NFL, like any game plan you have, it just gets torn apart. And all you see is Daniel Jones in every game running for his life, getting just thrown to the ground. It takes a toll on you after a while.
Yeah.
So, but Tyrod has looked better. Yes, I'll definitely agree with that. But yeah, I think, who have they played? They played the Commanders. Let's take a look at what the Giants' schedule has been, because I don't really, the Jets' defense, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, and also statistically, is like a top 5 defense in the league.
Yeah. So
they played the Commanders, they played the Bills, and the Bills we know are okay on defense, but they're not great. Mm-hmm. They play the Dolphins, which statistically do not have a good defense. They play the Seahawks, the Cardinals. So they haven't the Niners. That is a good defense. So, but they haven't. The Jets are a great defense.
Yeah,
and they take the ball away. So I don't know. I just struggle to see how the Giants put up more than 13, 14 points in this game. I think the Jets win it. It's minus. The other thing you need to look at is the Jets open -1.5, and it's now up to -3. So when you got line movement like that, it means the books are. We always talk about reverse line movement. Mm-hmm. But you can also learn something from just direct line movement. If there's money on one side and the line moves with that side, then it means that the book usually agrees with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I agree.
If this gets to 3.5, though, that's where I might butt out.
Okay.
For sure, because this with a total of 36.5, this has a field goal game written all over it.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is like a 17-14.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Zach Wilson will make sure.
Yeah, for sure. This is like
game.
This will not surprise me at all. If this is 20-17 Jets.
Yeah. And I really don't like to lean into storylines, but we did have the whole preseason thing. Aaron Rodgers isn't there, but the Giants still may have a chip on their shoulder with all the crap that Aaron Rodgers was talking. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
So there could be a little bit of that in there, like, hey, we're gonna come in, get that pregame fight in that's been trending in the NFL. So. They may come amped up and ready to play. This may be circled on the calendar, but you're right. I'm still going Jets.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I wanted to get your take on this game because I think it's pretty interesting. But we've seen the stuff with Deshaun Watson and the Browns, right? He's hurt. Is he not hurt? Well, first of all, when you saw him drop, did you see him drop last week? How the hell did he pass concussion protocol after that? He looked like someone that was clearly concussed.
It looked very similar to what happened to Tua.
Yeah, with the hands and everything.
Yeah.
So how do you go back there and get cleared, but then you don't re-enter the game? There's something weird going on, and then you see like the Twitter buzz about like there's something weird. There's like a awkward vibe between the Browns and him. But then he comes out and says, "Of course I want to play. What do you think I'm here to do?"
Yeah.
Whatever the case is. It just feels off with that team.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a hard spot because...
they got to go to Seattle now. That's a tough place to play.
Yeah, they got to go to Seattle. P.J. Walker just got them that big win over a really good football team, really great football team in the Niners.
Yep.
And you've seen Deshaun Watson decent in spots, and you've also seen him pretty poor in spots this year.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, do they want PJ Walker out there?
Yeah, and but the thing is that one was at home. PJ Walker in his career has been good at home. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in the XFL, I was reading something about when he was in the XFL.
I was like, what's our sample size?
It's like he's great at home. Yeah. He's great at home, but he struggles on the road.
Yeah.
Seattle's one of the hardest places to go in the NFL. Right? There's a few places that are really tough to play. Seattle's one of them. You got places that are not, like, you play the Rams or the Chargers at home. That's not really a strong. Seattle has a great home field. So, and that line has already gone up, -2.5. It's now -3.5. But the thing about the Browns to me, with that whole thing going on with Watson, is even if he does play, you look like when you see a team that has like internal struggles like that, or buzz, there's a word going around about internal struggles, but then you match it to the metrics. Mm-hmm. They have like some of the craziest luck metrics this season. Like last week alone, the game where we had the Colts straight up, which we obviously lost on that last play of the game.
That's why we're talking about the
luck. That's why we're talking about luck, exactly. But like the insane amount of even the penalties in the 49ers game that helped them stay in that game and get the game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
And then last week, Myles Garrett blocking field goals, the strip sack in the end zone for a touchdown.
Is that like luck, or is that?
I mean, he's just he's an animal, yeah.
Specimen and the defensive player of the year.
That in particular is not luck. Yeah, but just
it's so lucky. Myles Garrett is leaping over the offensive line.
He's so lucky that he's so much faster and stronger than everyone else.
So lucky.
It's not luck per se, but like you could do that. He could do that same thing every time and not block the kick 9 out of 10 times. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You don't think he could jump over the line every time?
I don't know. Let's find out. Let's find out this week, because
I guess we'll see.
He is the scariest
he's
human
a
being.
Beast. He's a beast
on the football field. Like, I saw him after that strip sack in the end zone put on a giant dog chain and just walk up and down the sidelines. He had to go back in like 3 plays later. Like, they got the strip sack for the touchdown. So he's resting for like 2 minutes before he has to go back on. He still found the time to put on the dog chain and walk up and down the sidelines. I think he's the only person on that team that's even allowed to do that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So he completely changes games. So when you look at that Seattle offensive line, it's like, can they even stop them in?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and that's a legitimate concern because Geno Smith under pressure doesn't have good numbers. So if Garrett if Garrett is constantly in the backfield, it's going to be a problem. But that's also why this total is 38, because they're expecting the Seahawks defense has been surprisingly good this season. So this is going to be a low scoring game. But the spot just screams Seattle in this game. Okay. Going on the road. And here, I'll give you this. The Browns under Stefanski, after a straight-up win, they're 10-18 against the spread under him. That's not good. And then on the road, it gets worse, 5-12 on the road, straight up and against the spread, after a straight-up win. Mm-hmm. And then when you add on top of that how crazy fluky that win was, and also there's a profitable system where you fade teams playing multiple road games in the NFL. In the NFL, I don't believe you ever play more than 3, maybe maximum. There's rare times where you play 4 straight road games, but they're playing their second straight road game. That's usually a tough spot too. Okay. It's the travel in the NFL. So I like Seattle. Even though it's 3.5, I like Seattle. I think this could be a bad spot for Cleveland. I feel like this could be a game where they only put up 10, 13 points, and it's like 20-13, something like that. Right. 21-13, 21-14. That's kind of what I'm feeling in this game. So my early lean would be the Seahawks -3.5. If you can find 3 somewhere, sure, great. But I like Seattle.
All right.
Yeah, and they've been good to us this year, Seattle. They've cashed, I think, 2 teasers for us this year. So Geno's been doing his job.
Not in fantasy.
Not in fantasy, that's true.
But, yeah.
But on the football field.
Cool. All right. What's up next?
All right. So I'm going to give you, well, first of all, before I give you my dog of the week in the NFL, dog of the week, why don't you run down the UFC play that we want to get in early before for the lines?
Let's bring it up. So this one is going to be a nice little treat for you guys.
And now this is, like you said, in 2 weeks.
This is 2 weeks. This is
not, so we're recording right now the 27th. The 28th, there is no UFC slate. And then, which means that also next week, which is, what's next week, is the 3rd, November 3rd. Oh, no, November 4th, sorry. November 4th, there's also no UFC slate. So we got a 2-week gap here until the 11th.
Well, let's move on to football because my laptop just...
Oh, all right. That's cool. All right. So then, okay. So what? Oh, yeah. Almeida versus Lewis is next. So what? Let me see. What's the date? Oh, no, this is on the 4th.
When? Is it? It's next week?
So, yeah, it's next week. So it's the 4th. So tomorrow, the 28th, no UFC. The 4th is Almeida Lewis. Then the 11th is the pay-per-view.
Which has changed.
Well, yeah.
Which has changed a lot. But...
yeah, because Jones is hurt, right? So...
Yep. So next week, we'll be doing a full breakdown of that UFC card.
For sure.
And I'll let everybody know exactly how Jailton Almeida is going to submit Derek Lewis. But before then...
Submit.
Yeah.
Not even just win. Win by sub.
It's not, it's not going to be that sexy. That line, right. So we're not going to get those prop lines until the week of, but I can almost guarantee you that Jailton Almeida by submission is going to be like minus 130. Like it's going to be...
Wow, it's going to be juiced.
It's going to be juiced to the gills. And
sheesh.
Derek Lewis doesn't have many ways to win that fight. So,
Gotcha. All right, so why don't we do this? All right, so we want to talk NFL Dog of the Week, right?
Yes, sir.
There's a bunch of games. Whenever you're looking at, here's a tip. Whenever you're looking at underdogs that can win outright, in the NFL specifically, not other sports, you have to look at divisional games. You know what I mean? Non-divisional games just don't hit the same. Mm-hmm. They hit different. Divisional games, these teams know each other so well, right? One of the ones we had already this year was when the Steelers beat the Ravens.
Yes.
And I got told, like, there's no chance in hell that the Steelers can beat the Ravens. They beat them all the time. They're in the same division. These teams beat each other all. And by the way, it's not like I want to make Ravens fans upset.
Right.
If the Ravens were the dog, I'd probably just bet them.
Right.
It's like the dogs beat each other in the division.
Right.
The Giants last week over the Commanders. So I'm going to give you. Well, actually, what's that?
Tomlinson.
What's that?
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Dog again this week.
Yeah.
At home.
Who do they have? Oh, they have the Jaguars.
At home.
Yeah, they're an excellent. Actually, yeah, let's talk about that. They're an excellent teaser leg because it's 2.5.
Yeah.
So if you can get 3, I think it was at 3 with the Steelers, +3 at home against the Jaguars, who are like crazy hot. Mm-hmm. You can't sustain, like, the NFL is there's so much parity. See a team like red hot, eventually they're going to hit. Like, you don't win. Like, it's so rare that you see teams like rattle off 7, 8, 9 wins in the NFL.
Do you mean that Travis Etienne is not going to score 2 rushing touchdowns every single game for the rest of the season?
Well, I don't think he will, but maybe he will. I don't know. I mean, he could defy the historical law, the historical data, but yeah, no, I think you always, and it's like scary because you don't want to try to catch a falling knife. Right. But you got to try to look at teams that are hot and find ways to fade them. But yeah, but the +2.5 at home, dude, is like, even if it's like the worst team, if you see a team that's +2.5 at home, they're automatically a great teaser leg. Right. Because going up to 8.5, home dogs in the NFL are money. So if you can get all the key numbers with the home dog, it's like almost a no-brainer. Then you just got to find one more leg.
Now, for our non-TikTok audience, do you want to explain what the key numbers are?
Because yeah. So okay, yeah. So
we'll link the video down in the description below, but maybe you should give a quick.
Yeah, educational for like NFL. This is specific for NFL betting because this
educational.
Yeah, we need like a button. Education time. But this doesn't mean as much in college football, and there's really no key numbers in basketball. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe there is, but you kind of disregard them, and we don't really tease basketball anyway. But 3, 6, and 7 are the main, right? Because field goal, touchdown, and then extra point. Right. Those are the main key numbers of football. So a large percentage of games fall on the highest percentage of games in the NFL fall on 3, and then I believe it's 7 and then 6. So you have to, when you tease, for example, if I went to the Browns Seahawks game that we just talked about, and I said I'm going to tease the Browns up from +3.5 to +9.5, it's not awful. But it's not ideal because you already have 3 in the hook. Right. So it's like with a total that low, the most likely outcome is a 3-point game. So you're just like kind of throwing that away and just saying like, oh, well, let me get 6 and 7. You should really look for a game where you can get all 3. And plus, when a team is plus 2.5, it's already telling you they're very live in the game. That's telling you it's going to be a very close game. So that means you have a bigger cushion away from the pick, from 0, like teams being even. So you always just want to get the highest. It really all comes down to implied probabilities. The highest chance that a team could finish within that cushion. So last week we had the Colts plus 2.5 at home to plus 8.5.
Right, teased it up.
And they lost by 1, right? Well, not a miracle, but they lost by 1. And then we had the Seahawks, who were minus 8.5, right? Again, minus 8.5. Bring them down to 2.5. So you go through 7, 6, 3. And they won by 10. So they covered the spread anyway, but we didn't have to sweat it at all. Because even if the Cardinals got like a garbage time touchdown, it was still going to be a 3-point win.
Right.
So that's where teasing really can give you an edge. You have to, but you got to. So favorites, you're teasing them only if they're between 7.5 to 8.5. So that's 7.5, 8, 8.5. And dogs are from 1.5 to 2.5. So plus 1.5, plus 2, plus 2.5. You can tease those. And I would just, personal note, highly recommend home dogs. Road dogs are good too, but home dogs are just like it's
different animal.
It's insane. Yeah. Home dogs with the crowd, get 8.5 points, unless the team just totally gives up. That's usually going to hit. The favorites are a little more dicey. Like we lost, the only teaser we lost this year was on Buffalo as a favorite, where they lost the game. So favorites are a little bit more dicey, but we had the Bills last night in a teaser. So they won. They won by 6. They did not cover the spread.
Yeah.
Spread was 8.5 when I gave out the teaser. So we have the minus 2.5. They don't cover the full spread, but they cover our teaser. The second teaser legs on Monday night with Detroit. So we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of like the key number breakdown.
There we go.
Yeah. Hit the button. Education.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So we were going to talk about dog of the week, right?
Yeah.
But actually, hold on. I want to see. I have 1, 2. Yeah. So there's 3. So here's the thing. So here, let me bring this down. Dogs. There's really 3 main reasons why I love this team. But I'll give you. Actually, this could be like probably a perfect clip for socials. But I'll give you 3. Okay, so here's the. Well, actually, let me see what the game. Sorry, let me get my stuff together. So we talked about the Commanders and the Giants, and how if you want to find a dog that's going to win outright, look for divisional games. I'll give you 3 reasons right now why the Commanders are going to beat the Eagles on Sunday. Okay, what make that face? What's the face for?
It's not a face. I was just stretching.
So, Washington's a 6.5 point.
Can I
dog.
guess? Can I guess?
Oh, the reasons?
Yeah. Okay. The Commanders have given up 40 sacks this year, which is good for second or third all time through this point in the season.
Oh, not this year. All time.
All time.
Thanks. This is helping my case.
And I don't even have my computer is rebooting, so I don't even have this up. But I think the only other quarterback that has been sacked more through this point in the season all time. Can you guess?
More than Sam Howell?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. Wow.
No, it's not.
No?
It's the guy who has been sacked the most.
The most?
In his NFL career.
Oh man, that's tough. I don't even.
He has a brother in the league right now.
He has a brother?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. My first thought was like that one year where Andrew Luck was getting murdered, but I don't know. It's not Andrew Luck. Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
I'm out of here.
It's not Andrew Luck.
David Carr.
Oh,
Texans.
shoot! Wow.
So Sam Howell has been sacked roughly the same amount of time.
I should have got that with the brother
as David Carr on the Texans. So now, but please tell me.
Well,
tell me
thank
why,
you. I appreciate that.
Tell me.
Now let me tell you why they're still going to win. No, but but Sam Howell is taking a beating, man.
Taking a beating. God. It's like, and people are talking about you need Sam Howell out of there. It's like,
nah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That they definitely have offensive line problems. But this, NFL betting is all about the spot. So
right.
But here's what I'm seeing though. So I think we posted a video about this already. But home dogs this year in the NFL, if they're at home and they're plus 6.5 or more, they're perfect this year. They're 7-0 against the spread. Perfect. And 5 of the 7 have won outright. So Washington fits that mold for this weekend. On top of that, they played each other once already this year.
Right.
Washington was plus 8.5 on the road at Philly and played them down to the wire. That game went to overtime.
Big home dog.
Yeah. No, they were on the road.
Oh, sorry.
But that game went to OT.
Yeah.
But Ron Rivera's always got a good game plan against the Eagles. They always play them close. And last year they beat them outright in one of the games as a big home dog. All right. So this weekend they're, again, plus 6.5. That's big. But I'm going to give you the biggest reason why that I think they're going to win is our boy Carl Cheffers is the referee for this game. So Carl Cheffers, if you're new to referee trends in the NFL, you got to know who Carl Cheffers
You're not
is.
an expert
You have to
in
know
how
this.
referees impact games.
You have to know these guys are the ones deciding who wins. Sometimes, not all the time. But if you just, over the last 5 years, if you just took every Carl Cheffers game and just bet the dog blindly in them, 64% against the spread. By just betting the underdog. That's important because the public bets favorites. So this dude is in there making sure the dogs are covering. 64% is very high.
Yeah.
Then you break it down to divisional games, it goes up to 73%. So the last 25 Carl Cheffers games, divisional games, the underdog is 19-6 against the spread. So this is like insane stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you add that on top of the fact.
If you're watching,
Yeah.
Carl.
You add that on top of the fact that Washington scored 7 points last week against the Giants. There's an excellent trend, which we need to make a video about. I don't think I made a video about this one. But teams in the NFL who score less than double digits, so Washington scored 7. The next week after that, they're 61% against the spread, whether they're a dog or a favorite. But the fact that your catching point is amazing with a home team.
Yeah.
And on top of all of this, plus 6.5 is a classic bait line. Right below the key number of 7, which you just talked about.
Right.
So I love this. Probably my favorite bet of the week I'm giving you guys is Washington plus 6.5 at home.
Okay.
Is like it's such a plus EV bet. There's so much data behind that bet. They can lose by 30. It's such a great spot for them.
Okay.
You almost just have to bet it.
So we're gonna go
Washington Commanders plus 6.5, and you got to sprinkle the money line.
which is ironic because I think last week Sam Howell took 6.5 sacks.
Okay, so it lines up. This is fake. This is fake.
So it's like we're really looking at some two key numbers
Killing
here.
me with the sacks there. This has to be edited and everything.
No, but listen, I think this will go to show that certain stats don't mean anything. Certain stats mean a lot, right?
Yeah.
So this is looking at like a lot of folks that are not as in depth with the spots, like myself, are gonna look at those numbers and say, it's Eagles, right?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
Eagles.
Yeah.
And then, but you're coming in with some really important trends, especially in the referee side.
The referee trends.
And then we get to see how that shakes out, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I'm looking at him like Sam Howell's been getting duffed.
Yep.
He's been getting tombstone pile driven into the floor all season. And the Eagles, have been struggling a little bit lately, but great defense, good pass rush, right? Really, really deep in the front seven. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen, right? And if they can play that game close with the Ron Rivera spot, if that underdog against a spread hits with the refs, and you guys see some, questionable Carl calls, for the dog,
boy Carl,
it's like, all right, well that's a whole new unlock for the audience. So,
for sure.
Let's just see if the casual Bruce stuff.
And there's like a time for both.
Yeah.
Like what I firmly believe is, and this just might be my style, but from the years that we've been doing this now, it's like I firmly believe that these betting trends and stats and stuff, situational spots are so important in the regular season.
Yeah.
But you can kind of throw them away in the playoffs. And I said this as I went, if for all the subs, I said this the first day that I sent out the first write-up when the baseball playoffs started. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, we've been using like road divisional dogs all year, fading outlier teams all year in baseball. Bad teams after a win, the streaky stuff. It did amazing for us all year long. I said, throw it all out starting today because we're not using any of it because the playoffs are just different. And that stuff that you're talking about, once you have a full season, sample size of like all those matchup stats, those are key in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the trends in the situational spots, because the Eagles are overall a much better team, but all you need is one sleepy week from them.
Yep.
For them to lose a game.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday, right?
Right.
And the Commanders in a division, they're going to be hungry for that win, especially with the way they played last week. The Giants are not good enough to hold anybody to 7 points. So if you score 7 points, you did a lot of shit wrong. You know what I mean? So they're going to come out.
They only scored 12.
Yeah. So, yeah. So they're going to come out with like a little extra fire. Anyway, but the point is the spot definitely favors them. And I situational betting is like one of my favorites in the NFL.
Awesome.
So like Cheffers in that game. I'll drop another one for you guys if you want. If we got to what are we doing on time though?
I have no idea. I haven't been tracking. This is podcast number 1.
This is podcast 1. All right.
This is going to be a little bit rough going.
Well, the Texans-Panthers game is going to be refereed by John Hussey. And if you watched our videos, you know our boy Hussey. Hussey's home. I like to remember with his last name starts with H. Hussey home teams. They're 63% on the money line, right? Last 5 years. Mm-hmm. Just when he refs, Hussey's home teams, or every home team. So I know when people the initial thought is like, well, on the money line, it could be like, yeah, home team, like they're -8, -7. So of course they're winning. No, we're talking about like everybody. So for example, he was the ref last week when the Giants beat the Commanders, +3 at home. He was the ref when the Browns beat the Niners at home as a +10 underdog. So we're not talking about like John Hussey's just handing wins to these big favorites.
Right.
Dogs are winning outright at home when John Hussey's a referee. So the Panthers,
was he there blowing the ball?
Could be, maybe. But Panthers at home +3, I know that's a gross play. But
that is very gross.
And both teams are coming out of the bye week, so I can't really say, well, the Panthers are coming out of their bye. They're both coming out of the bye. But the Texans have excelled this year as dogs. They're 4-1 ATS as dogs. The one game that they were a favorite in, they lost to the Colts. So we can't just like, CJ Stroud has looked amazing, but you can't just crown him and then let that blind you from the situational spot. Again, it greatly favors Carolina. And they've covered less than 30% of their games this season. Teams that have covered less than 30% of their games after 7 weeks, they're 62% against the spread from that point on in the season. So again, it's the number 1 pick going against the number 2 pick. Is there an additional motivational factor there for Bryce Young? He hasn't been able to figure it out yet. Maybe this is the week he figures it out. But the fact that Hussey's reffing the game, the fact that the historical data backs them, and just in general in the NFL, you don't really want to lay points on the road ever. And the fact that it's on top of that with a rookie QB makes me like the Panthers. So that's another lean. Panthers +3. Whether or not you want to play it if you think it's too gross, but our job is to give you guys plus EV plays that have good data backing them. That's a very good play. Panthers +3.
And on top of that, they're probably not going to go 0-16.
Exactly. They're going to win a game here. And
probably.
This is a winnable game.
They're probably going to win a game.
They're going to win a game. And like, yeah, a lot of people like them.
0-17. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
We changed.
Yeah, a lot of people like them when they play the Dolphins. Like that was a popular pick, taking the 14 points with them. And they got smoked, but they were up in that game. I think they were up 14-0 at one point. But then they ended up getting destroyed. But you have to like not let that blind you from the fact that it's still a good play going forward. And there's multiple. And by the way, that system I mentioned with teams covering less than 30% of their games, it applies to multiple teams this week. So you have the Giants, the Broncos are a big home dog that it applies to as well. Mm-hmm. You got the Saints, you got the Patriots. Patriots are catching, I think, almost 10 points on the road. So there's against the Dolphins, who don't have a great defense. So maybe like if Mac Jones is ever going to get some momentum going, it could be this game. So like there's a lot of teams that system fits, and it's a good one to keep in your back pocket. Teams that are covering less than 30%, because what happens is the market gives up on them. So the average Joe sees, Carolina can't beat anybody, and no matter what the number is, they won't get that person's money.
Right,
and then it just inflates the line. Right, so like that line went for I think it was 2, 2.5. Now it's 3. Now you get a key number with a home dog that's desperate. That's usually a good spot in the NFL. A desperate team getting a good line is usually a good spot. So Panthers +3 would definitely be on my list of plays to look at if you just want to get really gross, get down and dirty.
Just get grimy.
If you just want to like increase your stress level on Sunday, take a look at the Panthers.
Hey, those gross spots really feel good when they hit. When you're you're in your group chat and you're like,
Yep.
Had Carolina +3.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
like, no, you didn't.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why
No,
the hell
this
did that
actually
happen?
happened. Let's tell the story. This happened in our group chat.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago? So the Panthers play the Dolphins, right? You remember what I'm talking about? They go up 14-0, and they're a 2 touchdown underdog.
Yeah.
So it's looking like, this is the week.
Yeah.
And then when they're up 14-0, of course we get I won't say the name. We got a guy in our group chat. I hope you guys took Panthers money line with me, and we're like, what? You could have said it before. And then of course they go on and they lose by 3 touchdowns.
That happens a lot. What was the game where we took the under and it cashed, but it was like 37-0?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had the Saints Patriots game. Yeah. It was such a sweat. It was like 38.5, and they scored 35 points themselves or something.
Yeah.
34-0 was the final or something like that.
That's when you really get clowned in the group chat. It's like, it's like 28-0, and you're like, oh, you took the under, right?
Oh, nice job, idiot.
Yeah, nice job, dummy.
And I'm just sitting there like, Mac Jones, do not do anything good, please. And luckily he didn't. That's usually a good bet.
That's just every week. You can pretty much say that.
Dude, when Buffalo took the lead last week, I was like, oh, great. Our teaser's going to hit. It's over. I was stunned that Mac Jones led a game-winning drive. That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
That was like insane that he did that.
It might not even have been him.
Someone who looked like
Yeah.
they swapped them
You
out.
don't know what Bill got up his sleeves, man.
Oh, man.
He has 5 quarterbacks on the roster. 2 are named Mac Jones. But going back to the UFC play, so we have Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Bribovic.
Okay.
That line, I think, is sitting at -135 on the money line for Elvis Brenner, and Elvis
Let's take a look.
is better everywhere. Like, this line should not be as close as it is.
Yeah.
Better on the ground. He has more power in his hands. Elvis Brenner is a shoe-in for winning in all 3 ways in this fight, by KO, sub, or decision. That is one of our highest confidence picks going into next week. And we just want to get that out there before the
Brenner
line moves on that. What is the line? Because my computer
it's already it's -140 now, so it's bumping up.
Yeah, I think it was like -125 or something on the open.
It's just going to keep steaming up.
It's going to keep coming up. So I want to get that out early.
Cool.
I want to get that out before that line moves, and we have to put it in like a parlay or something later at -200. So let's get that out for the fans. So Elvis Brenner currently sitting at -140. It's probably going to be higher when you see this video. You should just get it on it now.
Sweet. And one of the things that I always was curious about in UFC, because sometimes the spot can also be a play, right, in combat sports, like late replacement, age of fighters, but what about how often do you factor in statistics, significant strikes per minute, takedown percent, all this stuff? Because you can get just as deep.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about DVOA in football and spin rate in baseball, you can get just as deep in combat sports.
You can, but you really have to understand the context of how those stats were accumulated, because in baseball, it's pretty standard how you accumulate those stats.
Yeah.
When you accumulate significant strikes in combat sports, that can happen in 3 or 4 different ways. That could be ground and pound strikes, significant strikes. That could be kicks. That could be head strikes, body strikes. So how they accumulate is just as important as the stat, because you can look at a guy and he's like, oh my God, he's landing 7 significant strikes a minute. And then you realize, well, that's all coming, from taking somebody down and hitting them with body, head on the floor. And it's like, well, that's way different than somebody's accumulating, 3.5 per minute or 4 per minute, but it's Sean Strickland and he's just walking you down, jabbing you.
Yeah.
So the way that those stats get accumulated are just as important as the stat itself. So outside of we really like the age spots, even though, for context, myself and Justin are on the MMA team, really break down all these fights. Justin hates the spots. So we really bring good yin and yang.
Yeah.
He whenever I give a spot to him, he's like, please, I'm going to watch the fights. Yeah. And then I'll tell you how this thing is going to play out. So we really sort of go head to head on the spot versus the tape, and then end up coming to a consensus based on those two things. So you really need to watch both, which is why it's so hard. And not a lot of people even put MMA on their card because of how hard that is. Yeah. Or they'll do some weird, crazy shit out there that I see.
Or just grab huge favorites and parlay them.
Right. So when you look at that, some spots that are good are the age spots, like anything that's like 7 or more gap in their 30s. Yeah. 23 and 31, there's still physical prime there. So, you can kind of discount some of those.
Sure.
But when you're getting like 29 versus 38.
There you go. Yeah.
Like I'm 34 and train MMA, and I feel 34 in there versus somebody that's like 26.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy.
It's rough. Yeah.
I can't get to that spot anymore where you can.
Yeah.
So that there's reality there.
Gotcha.
I got a black eye for a reason. Right now. Not as fast as I used to be. And so when you look at the age range, those are good. UFC is getting more wise to that. Bookmakers are getting more wise to that. You see that scrolling on the tail of the tape on UFC now. The age differentials, the short notice differentials.
Yes,
those are good. My favorite spot in MMA is when there's a late notice replacement and the guy with the full camp is the dog. We've hit that multiple times this year where they bring in a late replacement that's, technically more skilled or just a bigger name, higher rank. You bring him in late and his line gets to like minus 180, minus 200. That's where you get a lot of value on those late replacements. But usually, we fade late replacements most of the time.
For sure. Yeah.
We missed a few.
It comes down to the line though. Like you said, if the full camp is the dog.
Yeah.
Because the late replacement comes in and if it's a big name or if they're juiced, people just think, all right, they're going to win.
Yeah.
But prep is very important. In
have
fighting, right? I mean, it's super important.
Have a full
you got to know your
like
opponent. You got to be in shape and everything. So if you're fighting on short notice.
When you're fighting a dude, combat sports is one of the only sports where your gas tank can either be a weapon or kill you. Yeah. Like in the NFL, if you're hurt, or you're tired, you just sub out. Yeah. NBA, you just sub out.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, hey, time out, I need a breather in the middle of a fight.
True.
So those full camps are so important where your cardio needs to be there. Yeah. It dictates your entire game plan for the fight sometimes, because sometimes that you don't have a gas tank.
Right.
So you either lay off the gas early or you go all in round one and just say, I'm going to try to get this guy out of here.
Try to get a finish, yeah.
And then, you're totally gassed going into the second and third. So, yeah, those are spots that we like. But Elvis Brenner.
Brenner.
Next week, we'll tell you in what round Jailton Almeida subs Derek Lewis.
I like it.
So,
Sweet.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So, Brenner will be on the card then. Perfect. Awesome. And we'll do more UFC next week. I mean, that was all I really had for the NFL. College football this weekend, there's not really anything that crazy, which was surprising to me. There's not really any games that jumped out. Oregon, Utah's a good game. Utah's a home dog, 6.5. But there wasn't really anything to me that was huge. One of the things that I know everyone loves Colorado. They're a big dog again this week, 16.5 point road dog to UCLA. UCLA's money at home though. They're going to put up at least 40 points on them. So, they're I think the number 2 or 3 rushing game in the nation. So Colorado, unless you're going to put up points, and they can score, but UCLA's defense has been a lot better this year than it's been in previous years. So just watch out for that, because every week you see Colorado getting all the money, all the bets, and they are, 4-3, I think. They're 4-3, but even though they're 4-3, they've lost. They lost the game outright as a huge dog. I'm sorry, as a huge favorite, and to Stanford. So you just got to be careful with these lines. So plus 16 looks like easy money with Colorado, but this could be another situation like the Oregon game where they lost by 40 or whatever it was. So just be careful with Prime this weekend. All right, UCLA is a dangerous team.
Yeah, watch out.
So
Is Dion still part of Barstool?
No, I think he's off of that.
He's off?
Yeah, I think he's just coaching now, I think.
Okay.
And he goes on like College Game Day once in a while or something, but
I was about to say.
I don't know if he does anything. He doesn't do anything else like TV related now, I don't think, except for his interviews and social stuff, sunglasses and all that stuff. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. It's just that the team doesn't have the talent yet, you know?
I mean, it's year one, right?
And his son is a good quarterback. Like, surprisingly, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense is really bad. And if you don't have a defense, it's hard to stay in games. You have to do everything right offensively, and you have to stay healthy offensively, that's just tough to do in the long term.
Yeah.
So they had, statistically, they're giving up so many points. It's crazy. So the only way they're going to stay in games is against teams that they can just outclass with their talent. But once you start getting like to the higher conference teams, like the UCLA's, Oregon's, the toppers of the conference, it becomes a lot more difficult. So yeah,
awesome.
So that was it. So we probably after this is the first episode. I would think like after this, we'll probably like maybe be more structured. At the end, we'll have like a recap. Like here were all the leans we gave out. Like we gave out the over in the Colts game.
We can still do it.
Yeah, there you go. It's gonna come on the screen. Perfect. Yeah. Over in the Colts game, the Panthers, Commanders, Elvis Brenner, some other stuff.
Just all gross picks.
Just everything. Yeah, this week is disgusting.
This is a gutter.
And the referee stuff. Yeah, the ref. We should just do weekly ref picks.
Yeah,
that's it. Just ref picks. That's all until we get sued by one of them
for defamation.
Yeah, just be like, why am I rigging games?
It's all right. They're part time.
Did you actually see that? We're going to get off topic, but did you see the ref in the Eagles-Dolphins game, the story about him?
No. So
that Sunday Night Football game where the Eagles won by 2 touchdowns, they basically dominated Miami. They had 0 penalties called on them in that game last Sunday night. And the main ref in that game, I can't remember his name. If I go on Twitter, I'll find it quickly. But they did like a whole some Twitter accounts who are like huge Dolphins fans did like a deep dive on this guy because they're like, how can you call 0 penalties on one team?
Yeah. Just a clean game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it turns out he's like from Philly. He's a huge Eagles fan. He was coaching at like a lower level, like I don't know if it was college, like Division I or something, and his officiating crew was like suspended for tampering with games. So he's already got like this history, and he's in the. I got it. What the hell was his name? He's in the NFL.
We got to do something about this.
And they were like, how is this possible? And,
I say we, us, the NFL. Honestly, as Jets fans, we've already seen the calls when Taylor Swift was there against the Chiefs. We saw that where you throw the flag after the interception, right?
Right, yes.
You see this, and it's like, well, you got part-time refs. This is not their main gig. True. We need to get just a bunch of just like math, science, just dorks. Like, we need to just get a couple of people who don't even care about the NFL. They just come in and they just like understand the rule book,
right?
And they have no fandom. Like,
there you go.
Let's go international. Let's go get all the people who go to the Jaguars games in London,
not a bad idea.
And just pipe those guys in, because. You can't have people that are super fans out there officiating games.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was a surprise. I was surprised to see that one. So.
Or you got to list it. You got to register your favorite team when you become a ref, and they don't put you on those games.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, all right, Eagles fans.
Or even, honestly, just where you're from. Like, because that can often just tie into the team that you root for. Like, if you're from Philadelphia, like this, or close to Philly like this guy was, probably just shouldn't be reffing the game with the Eagles in it. You get
a bunch of hate from the Eagles fans on this one. They're like, no, we won.
Yeah, I mean, they won the game either way, but it is odd when you look at a box score and you see 0 penalties. Because there's how many games in a season? Like, I would argue that might be the only game this year where a team gets 0 penalties called on them. So it's just a little interesting, but.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find his name. We could find it and put it in here after.
Because the NFL already scrubbed him.
Imagine. He's gone. They already got rid of him. All right, yeah. So we'll put a recap up on the screen. And next week, we'll have some more shit, man.
All right.
And this will be a weekly thing from now on. Every week, a weekend pod to get you guys through the weekend, and that's pretty much it. We'll figure out some kind of outro, some kind of exit strategy to end it.
Locked in.
Stay locked in until next week.
There we go.
When you lock back in, they'll be like lock out until next week. No, it's terrible. All right, guys.